All right, should be live. I'm going to give it a few seconds to make sure that we are. This should be the final, and it sure looks like we are live. Cool. Well, yeah, this should be the final stream that I do in this apartment as following this weekend. The computer, everything moves to the house and everything. I want to talk about the Saturday slate. Obviously, I haven't been on as many shows. I hadn't done a couple of the Thursday night and Monday night stuff just because I've been busy moving stuff and getting everything squared away. Plus all the holidays. Although I think I joined Sheets on Christmas. I did actually. Okay, so maybe I just have no clue what I'm talking about. I do want to discuss the two-game slate. I apologize that I made a post in the Discord like, "Hey, I'm going to go live at the top of this hour," then just completely forgot I even made that post. And like, so yeah, let me get the. I'm just gonna be talking about how I'm going through SaberSim here, and let me move that. Let me move this here. I need to update this because there is a new um, $25 contest since I entered these earlier today. So I need to update entry fees here. This is probably, I mean, this is just going to be me talking through what I'm looking at, not necessarily, who the good picks or things are. Now, we don't really have a lot of injuries on this slate or questionables. Obviously, we have Pearsall and George Kittle being really the only kind of up in the air guys. It seems like Kittle is going to go. I'm not exactly sure on the Pearsall side, but obviously we will know before the game goes live and we can adjust accordingly here. The only thing I had in here were dummy lineups before when I reserved this last night and stuff. I'm not going to be making a Stake Kings for the second 25, but there is currently still a package available for the main 25. And I had a second one for the 5, which I put at the wrong hour last night when I was setting everything up, and somebody still grabbed it. So thank you for whoever did that. We already have. So when I'm looking at this, because I love the two-game slates, I love smaller stuff. Obviously, I like Showdown. I think I haven't been playing MME for the showdowns recently. I was mainly focusing on the 3-3-3 and then kind of dipping my toes in that. Mainly because some of these showdowns are up in the air and whatever the case. I'm playing very heavily today on this two-game slate, and I'm probably not even going to be able to watch the second game until super late. I probably won't even catch the last quarter here. And thank God the NFL flexed these games into where we don't just have dead on arrival games, games that actually matter here. What's going on, Andy? Happy to see you, Jake. What's going on, Mr. Rice 54? Favorite number. Happy to see you there. Thank you for that. Yes, I did. Uh, we did, or I did, not even we. This is like the second slate I played this year, and I finished first and second in the college football in the $5 for the whatever reason. Normally I enter the 20, just decided to not do that yesterday, and of course that's the one that I end up taking down and stuff. This was on Stake Kings as well, so this was like what 2,800 of that went back to people who staked me on there. So yeah. So when I'm looking at this game or this slate, I don't really have a lean, and I don't really, especially when it comes down to a two-game slate with all teams very much live. Typically, I like to play very aggressive, and I remove a quarterback straight up. Usually, I only play about two quarterbacks on these two-game slates. I don't necessarily think that's you're able to do that here with just how close the projections are. Now, we see a pretty big distinction between the pricing, right? And normally I'm pretty hesitant on playing the cheapest quarterback just because I used to do that like years ago, right? Um, and just for whatever reason, anytime I've done that on the Thanksgiving slates, the other, and not this year, but in the past, I just always got crushed by the more expensive guys. And so I made it a point this year to just on these slates just play the better quarterbacks. Don't try and get fancy. Now, if I end up getting to Bryce Young, whatever, right? But don't just play him based on the price in here. I want to go through and because I haven't really looked at the slate, right? Obviously, we have Christian McCaffrey at 8,800, and I apologize if you've already done this. This is really my first time looking at at this. I'm trying to distinct or look at how expensive we are at now. Actually, I do have those. We can look through what we have here because these aren't the lines I'm playing. This was just whatever I was given when I made stuff earlier. Now, obviously, some of these lines will probably still be played by the field and possibly me here. But what I'm looking here is I want to look now. I usually put in, salary restriction anyway, but I want to see how much is being left on the table, just kind of in general here, even with my restriction here. So we have the first. I think I do. I'm trying to think what I just threw it in last night. Probably 49.8 or 49.9 as max salary. I want to see how many lineups are we leaving, 1,400 because and then I could look at, what is my I don't even know what the default exposure rate was for these. So like, okay, I did remove Bryce Young last night. That was the one adjustment that I did, and this is where we were at right here. 77 McCaffrey. So it's still paying up pretty heavily. So there might be, when I actually take this serious and build here, there might be lineups that are pushing Bryce Young, but it doesn't really seem like we need that discount. If it was already giving me, San Francisco, Seattle, and Tampa Bay stacks, and not really feeling like it needs to leave salary. We're still getting quite a lot of McCaffrey and JSN in these lines, and a lot of those together as well. I'm going through, obviously like we see 600, 900, but we don't really see a lot of salary being left on the table. I don't think this is a slate to where we need to leave salary. With that said, now yet again, I didn't use Bryce Young on that just dummy run. It doesn't seem like we need that like savings. It seems like, when we're looking at the highest scores on the slate or the highest projected guys, it seems like we're getting to JSM and Christian McCaffrey pretty easily. So I don't really see a reason to be using Bryce Young here unless we just get to him. I'm gonna run it and see, but I think based on what I'm feeling here, I might end up removing Bryce Young. Like that, I think that might be the biggest kind of opinion or the only thing I'm gonna really do here, right? Because I like other slate stuff. Like I like Zach potentially more than Kenneth Walker, but I'm not going to specifically just change that and mess up the projections. Like why mess up projections that I trust here? Same thing with Rashad White. Gut feel like nobody's going to have Rashad White. Okay, if this game gets out of hand, obviously Rashad White is going to be much more utilized in the passing than Bucky Irving, right? If currently right now nobody's projected to have Rashad White. Obviously, the dummy lamps that I built last night or whatever, I didn't have any of it. That would be like another one that I would at least want like 5-10% off. Now, yet again, you see, I'm gonna have like 300 something lineups today, but I really don't want to like, especially with how well Saberson has been building for me personally, how well Goldies and Sheets' projections have been whenever I use them. I don't really want to just dig my fingers in there and start really jacking with projections here. I would much rather just make the mid exposure adjustments once I get there. So other gut feel, or things that I've thought about or whatever is I hate Baker Mayfield this year. I don't think I've done anything with him, whether it be afternoon slates, whatever the case. This team is almost just from a DFS perspective, or at least I feel is almost as frustrating as the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. And just there's so many people being involved here. It's really, really hard to find out who you want to use as like a one-off, right? So if you're playing Baker, the name of the game is team stacking anyway on a 2-game slate. So like that's why I'm leaving like Baker and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the pool, even if I don't like them, just because you just have to team stack here, right? Um, but I don't really like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, especially with how much McMillan has been encroaching and even just like destroying Mbuka's production here. Yet again, I'm going to play with whatever this thing gives me here. Obviously, earlier I have a lot of AJ and quite a lot of Kittle. No real reason to argue that. Okay, so let's go ahead and rebuild for real here. I'm not going to adjust this really fast because I just want to see what's being given here. If I don't run anything, or if I don't change anything. Now, yet again, normally I build this a lot closer to lock. Since we don't have any real injuries or people being out that are expected, as I discussed, we should have Kittle and Pearsall. We should have. If we don't, whatever, we'll adjust. Second game, whatever. I think I'm going to probably run very similar, if not just run whatever it's given me here. Once I kind of go through and build here and everything. So the two things I'm looking at here is I'm just very curious on what the Bryce Young is going to be at. Once all this stuff runs, I just threw my mouse across the room. And once I calculate, let me see what you guys are saying here as all this stuff ends up running. Yeah, possibly double tight end. I kind of just run with whatever stuff ends up giving me. Especially on 2-game slates, I just play whatever stuff is being given. Especially with the 2 tight ends that it looks like the field and everybody's going to play Kittle and the guy from Seattle. I'm not too concerned about 2 tight end, especially if you're playing McCaffrey, if you're playing JSM. Now, in the we've had a lot of slates recently to where the most expensive guy was either just getting to value or even underperforming. But I would still just prefer to just pay up and lose with the best wide receiver than not pay up and get completely obliterated. Like there's just no reason to be under. You either full fade CMC today or just play with whatever he's going to be owned. Same thing with JSM and Cooper Kupp as well, since Cooper Kupp is probably going to be quite highly owned. Okay, so let's see what is given. So we're at 20. Let's just see these exposure really fast. For me personally, I really like if I was gonna be building for the 4-4-4 today, or if I was really focusing on less lineups, I would probably be very heavy on Seattle. So it's interesting that Sam Darnold's the lowest owned here. Yet again, now this is kind of ridiculous, bro. Because we have, how many lines here? A ton, and we have no Rashad White. Let's see. So let's go in here. I don't even know. I have no clue who this guy is. I've never seen him play. This guy just exists. Anytime I'd play the Sunday slates, this guy would be in my lineups, and then I would just see that he'd have a touchdown or whatever. I have no clue who this guy is, right? I don't think I've seen Carolina play a single game this year. So what I'm looking at right now is just kind of seeing what is being used in the flex, not necessarily tight end or not. I'm just wanting to kind of see where this is being used. Last, I want to see if I'm overweight on any of these guys. Okay, so big timeout. This is what I don't want on a slate where these totals are very similar and the teams are very similar and stuff. I don't, especially the lowest owned, or not even, I guess 49ers are lowest owned, but especially I just don't want 38% of one single defense. If anything, this is a slate where I would like to try and be very close, or at least in the range of 22 to 28% on each defense. So 38% of Panthers is too much for me. Regardless if they work or not, I just don't want to have that much of my day on one single defense where everything looks this close together. Now it is against Baker, but that's in my opinion irrelevant. Are we really that tight on salary here? I just can't envision that we are. So what I am going to do is I'm going to do a big no-no here, because I just have no clue what this guy does. I'm doing like the biggest like clown move ever, and I'm just gonna go back and look at the game logs and see how much this dude has scored because is he gonna have a game of life and put up like 22? You know, I just see the other three quarterbacks scoring better. I'm not gonna adjust that yet. Gonna see what that does. I just want to see what that naturally does to see if there's more of a difference. Like, is this specifically for a salary relief? Why is the Young and Carolina defense so high in early runs right now? And then we'll go in and probably add the Rashad White and stuff. Who's my QB? Probably the other three. I like Sam Darnold the most. Um, that's who I would end up going with. But as you can see, I'm probably gonna have a ton on all three of them. But I like Sam Darnold the most from a stacking perspective. It'd probably be Darnold and then Purdy in that order. All right. Also, another thing as we get later in the year, obviously we're like an impasse, right? Because like today's slate is $25. The Millionaire Maker tomorrow is 25. We're at an impasse to where we're probably going to see like a huge like $5 or $4 contest for like playoff games, and then like a big 25, and then like huge pay or you know entry fees for like the 333 and 444 going through. I think the reason why I'm playing so much today and probably tomorrow is I'm probably gonna migrate to play a lot of the bigger buy-ins during the playoffs this year. I don't know if I mean I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be all in on Darnold, but I'm just saying I like him um, the most, especially if he seems to be I'd have to go back and look, but if he's gonna be the lowest owned quarterback with that upside, I'm perfectly fine with just making sure I get to him. Like I said, I just really don't like. I don't want Bryce Young. Um, I just don't really want to lose today by trying to get cute and build line, especially on a 2 game slate to where if I would rather pay up for guys and then leave salary on the table later on a slate than get cute, pay down at quarterback, and possibly be funneled to lineups that would lead to duplication. So let's see. Like I don't want 41% of Baker, but I'm much happier with that here. So where are we at here? We're still at like a gigantic amount of Panthers. I don't want that at all. Okay, let's just lean in here and see where we're at. I'm not gonna update those projections. These are goldies from 9 a.m. I guess that'd be ownership, right? I guess that'd probably be the biggest thing there. But I'm not gonna update stuff unless like goldies will probably update in an hour or so. I don't know if Sheets is playing, but I don't really plan on updating my projections personally that I'm using here, just because nobody's predicted to be out. There's not going to be a ton of changes that should happen that would relegate massive changes to be needed here. Is there anybody else that I want to make sure I have exposure to? If I was playing that last what is it, Rams 49ers game on Thursday was such an interesting slate because Juszczyk got involved a lot. Now, obviously, he's like unplayable on the main slate for like 4,000, but I don't like either of these contests from a showdown perspective today. That's why I'm playing the 2 gamer so much. I'm just looking at this stuff, for whatever reason. Um, Goldie and Sam Darnold is the lowest, but I'm not really splitting hair. I don't really care that much. I'm just verbally talking through my thought process as I go through and look at the stuff here. Yeah, I think that's fine. Who are And then after this, we could then go into stack exposure and make sure I'm getting my stacks right. But I'm just wanting to see kind of where people are being used here. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to rebuild because I don't know if it has enough good Rashad White lineups. Actually, I am gonna do that. I really don't like building a pool and then adjusting min exposures and then letting it update there. Especially with like an individual like Rashad White who isn't being pushed in a lot of things. How am I yet again? This is a program that has been optimized to build, the best lines that it could possibly build. But I just feel better instead of taking lineups that were built with Rashad White not wanting to be in them to begin with, then being used in my pool. I would just rather have 6% of my 5,000 lineups have Rashad White, and then take those best Rashad White lines and put them in it. So I'm going to run this again, and then I'm going to look at the stack exposure and go through and make sure I'm getting what I want. Now, usually by default, at least for me, I talked about at the start of the year. If it was a bigger slate, I want quarterback +2 minimum. I never run QB +1. I want QB +2 by a bare minimum. I don't really give a shit if it's one run back, whatever. Um, Today, we need QB2 minimum, and I'm looking for QB 3 and 4 here. And that is what I will end up being at today. I guess we just sit here and we wait. This is the this is the joy of playing DFS. I will say it's so. Speaking of NASCAR, as we're just kind of being here, I've gone back and forth. I think I was just kind of burned out at the sport and the fan base, and even the. I don't. I really really like motorsports. I've really turned like super negative towards NASCAR, the fan base, content related to it. No offense to anybody particular, but I just kind of don't want to talk about NASCAR. Um, from a DFS perspective, uh, especially since moving towards like an MME type of approach, I just kind of don't really want to waste time like talking about NASCAR so much. Hold on, let me just check this really fast, and then we can go back on that. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll get back to this in a second, just because a lot of people know me for NASCAR. I was really tempted to not continue building my own projections this year. Um, but after I waited between the end of the season and now, I think I was just kind of pissed off at how the NASCAR year went last year. But like the fan base is stupid. It's really hard to listen to any DFS content regarding NASCAR because it's the highest variance sport ever, right? Rex can take anybody out at any point. Um, yeah, F1 DFS should be fixed, OA, because now we're getting 22 car, not fixed, but it should help with the bigger field next year. DraftKings will have to update their scoring and stuff to adjust for that, but I think that'll certainly help it out. But like, I think I'm just gonna build my projections and do like quick shows instead of the the shows that I've done for like nearly like 8 years, where I was talking hours and hours. But I just kind of don't give a shit about it anymore. If you notice on my bio, I had for years I had like I dislike NASCAR, but I cover it with a passion. Like I can honestly say I don't have the passion to cover it like I used to. I'm just here for the money, and I'm just gonna be firing in like 150s for the entirety of the season using my projections, and that's gonna be it. Like I don't care what any like opinions are on any driver on any specific slate. I'm just gonna 150 max and just go from there. I probably have a better year than actually get like focusing on building on hand building like 20 lineups. Let's see. Well, they haven't come out yet. But we're gonna have more. We're gonna have one more. We're gonna have the Cadillac team next year, and that should help F1 not be as terrible. So we're going through here. Let's remove things I don't. I don't want. I don't want two threes. I don't want two threes. I don't want. Uh, Actually, let's work backwards here. I want this. I want these. 2-2. I feel like on big slates like this, I want 3 for sure. I'm fine with 4s. I just really want a game stack, and I don't know. Yeah, I'll keep those in. I don't want to. I don't want 2 1s. Right. I want as many players as possible from a game. If my stack, and this is just me speaking out loud, quarterback A plus 2 people, 1 bring back on a normal Sunday slate, afternoon slate, whatever. I'm fine with that. With a 2-game slate, I just want as many of the people on the quarterback team as I can. That's why I like the 3s, the 4s, and stuff. I don't want more people on the bring back than the quarterback side, unless I'm building with like the underdog. Even then, I don't like more bringbacks than with my primary stack. I just don't like that for whatever reason. I don't want to limit myself to a game with a 2-1 here. So I'm actively making the choice to not build with 2-1s right now. I don't want one guy with my quarterback with plus 2 breakbacks. I just don't want that. I'm fine with this. We only have 8 here. I mean, we have, a pool of, a shitload of lineups, and there's only, this 105 with 3 threes. I just don't want that. I don't really want any of these lower ones here. So we're going to build one more time with this. Now, do I do the max salary restriction now or after? I'm going to build it. I'm going to do it after because I want to make sure this stuff isn't going to too funky here. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so the only thing I'm going to check here once this runs is I'm then going to look at the quarterbacks and what quarterbacks I have. And then I'm going to double check that I don't have too much of one defense. I'm not going to even look at the running backs, the wide receiver, or the tight ends. Why is that? Okay. Maybe I've already made the adjustment to Rashad White that I want minimum 6%. That's well over what the field is expected to play him at. I don't really need to get cute anywhere else. Okay. I'm going through all my process here. So I'm probably gonna have a lot of CMC. I'm probably gonna have a lot of JSM, right? After that, I'm just trusting, due to the tool that I've used to win GPPs and stuff, that it's gonna give me, the quote unquote best place for whatever that lineup needs. So I shouldn't need to go in and massage whatever the exposures are for the rest of the running backs, whatever they are for the rest of the wide receivers. I'm just gonna play whatever it's showing me. Okay, because I'm going through all my other process of what I want in these builds. And then after that, I'm gonna put a max salary on. I'm debating, because I'm not using Bryce Young. I know I'm using 2 expensive guys here for the most part. Like if CMC breaks his leg, well then he breaks his leg, and that just tanks me or whatever, right? Sometimes I rerun it twice just to make sure it goes through. Just 'cause I'm doing so much. But yeah, like if Chris McCaffrey gets injured today, he gets injured today. Like I'm going to play whatever it tells me to play. If it's giving me 88% of Christian McCaffrey, I'm playing 88% of Christian McCaffrey. Let's see what else is going on here. Okay, no other major chat area. Yeah. I was saying, yeah, like I hadn't already read like the top of the chat. I don't know why I did that. So what are we at here? 2 twos. I really okay. Whatever. I got the stuff I want. That's fine. Okay, where are we at here? Baker. Okay, see, naturally, much more concise on here. I wanted more Sam Darnold. Got there. We had 41% Baker earlier. We're at 36 now. I've naturally gotten there. I didn't have to go in and change his max exposure. I really don't want to do that. I don't want to get it that way. If I can just get lower stuff there, that's fine. Or if I can do it with stack exposures and other stuff and lower that naturally like that versus just going and being like, don't give me, more than 40% of Baker Mayfield, that's fine. As I said, I like Sam Darnold the most. I'm fine with 95 lines with Sam Darnold today. That's fine. Where are we at here? Big Buccaneers. Buccaneers over the quarterback that I don't have. That's fine. 28% against Baker. That's fine. These guys, whatever's going to happen there is going to happen here. Okay, one last. I want to see what this does here. We're going to do 49.88 to try and limit duplications here. Go back and look at what these stack exposures are after this. Because now, hopefully, now you might be like, 49.88 isn't that much. But yet again, if stuff is close to the max salary anyway with the expensive people, I'm not playing a cheap quarterback. So hopefully this would naturally get lineups that would potentially go from wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 2, or stacks that would have wide receiver 2 now goes to wide receiver 3 or something. Hopefully it naturally does that. Well, typically it seems like it has. Yet again, I trust projections that I'm using. I'm trusting the tool that I'm using. I'm not, and I don't know ball, right? I don't know who McMillan is or whatever on Carolina, right? I just know he scores points in football games, right? But I have no impact. I have no thoughts in my brain that would ever help me if I start messing around with projections on stuff I don't know about, right? Sometimes just accepting that, hey, I don't know. You don't know something, don't mess with it is better than being ignorant and thinking that I know nothing about this. I'm then going to input my nothing opinion into something and possibly mess or jeopardize the results of something, right? We can look. It's probably going to be a lot. I'm gonna assume that it's going to be a lot of Barner. We can go ahead and look here at the end here. Yet again, if news breaks, I will check again. Okay, so let's see these. So game stack. I'm not specifically going in here and being like, I obviously you're gonna have a lot of the secondary or the second game, right? Duh. I personally don't go in and force this thing to stack a game. I just naturally get there doing it this way, right? I know some people are like, they go in and get the. I personally just don't do that. I would much rather focus on the stacks that I want, because you're naturally going to get game stacks anyway going like this, whatever. Okay, so there's that. Let's see where we're at here. So we've lowered this, and which naturally just getting to less Baker Mayfield. I'm fine with that. Okay, we've lost a bit of Darnold slightly, probably because it's harder to fit them in. I'm assuming that, answer your question. We'll look at Barner really fast. Well, that's not necessarily with Sam Darnold, but I mean, you're having a lot of Barner. I would assume that's being used with Darnold a lot. Let's see here where we're at here. It's wanting to put so much Carolina in here. Okay, so this is my other. I mean, we're like it's 2-game slate, splitting hairs, trying to figure out the fact that it's just wanting to force in Panthers stuff. For me, I'm gonna guess that it's gonna do the same thing for other people as well. I think I'm gonna make one last adjustment and try and get this a little bit lower, just to potentially get off of the. We're gonna. I'll put it at 22 and rebuild. I just want to give this guy just a little. Now I don't want to go in and put this at like 33 because that potentially might shoot him up higher. But I don't really want to cap these guys anymore. Can you give me, can you please give me just a little bit more Sam Darnold here, please, on this like next build. I don't want to, and I don't want to force it in. I would just like to have a bit more Sam Darnold. Um, all right, so let's try it again. Let's see what happens here. We got stack exposure where we want them. We got, I've been here for half an hour doing this. And if you're not willing to do this for DFS, now yet again, I've showed how I use this if I'm just doing one lineup. I still go through and some things and compare lineups and stuff. But if you're not willing to put the work in, and God forbid you're not doing this on your phone, like I don't know how these like Neanderthal DFS players play DFS on their phone, and then they're like, I don't win anything. Yeah, because you're like, you can't do literally half of the stuff at the ease that you can on a computer. Like crazy, crazy, crazy. I'm going back to NASCAR really fast. Like I really wish Denny Hamlin. Also, poor Denny Hamlin. What a terrible offseason. I really wish he would have just not settled and just ended the fucking sport. Like I don't know. I'm like so cynical towards NASCAR in general. The fan base is too stupid to realize that everything they were just shown now, you could have figured that out 10 years ago. Like NASCAR didn't give, they didn't care about the teams. Like, why was that so shocking? Why did all these like dumb idiots just figure it out here, right? Uh, um, okay, what am I checking for? Darnold and defense here. So let's check it out. Fucking Baker Mayfield. Nope, that's fine. 36, 32, 31. I'm okay with that. All right, what do we at here? Panther. I'm okay with that. We are where we're at. We're where I wanted to be. I'm fine with that. I'm happy with that. Do I go through and look at the? Let's do the last thing here. Let me just look at this really fast. I'm happy with it. Okay, we're doing it. That's these are my lineups. Um, Post the stream, I will go in and check the exposures of the other players, but I'm pretty sure this is what I'm running today. I don't foresee me changing my lineups just because we don't have any injury news we're waiting for. The only ownership that might be updated closer to lock is ownership, but still everybody's known or not, in the industry has known the matchup, projections, the ownership. I just can't imagine stuff's going to change much. I've made all my adjustments. I think this is what I'm going to go um, with here. I see AFC over here. What's going on? See, I don't even care. I don't even care. I think I won like I think I did fairly decent on the final slate of the year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't even remember. And I just don't even care. I don't care about. First off, F1 is I would rather watch any other form of motorsports than F1. That is such a hard watch. I don't know why people enjoy it, but they do. Um, yeah, I don't know. Battle at the Barn, Flow Racing. That's an event I like. Battle at the Barn, little go kart track in the middle of nowhere. Flow Racing next week. Battle at the Barn. That's what I love. Chili Bowl. I just like watch people flip over. That's what I want to watch, man. I don't care about F1 from like a view perspective. How so? Let me hear it because I mean now we're just here kind of just talking really fast because I haven't been here in a while. Why did you become a fan of F1? And I could have done this way better. I'm sorry about that. what made you? And also, let me check the ownerships of these guys really fast here. What made you become an F1 fan? Because I'm like I would rather I'd rather rip my own pinky off like with my bare hand. Like I feel like doing that for an hour, even with the pain, would is just more enjoyable than actively watching F1. But I guess that's how I feel about a lot of sports. Like it's really hard for me to watch anything because I'm just not a sports fan. I do want to just say very quickly across the board, I have 76% Christian McCaffrey and 77% JSM. So that seems to be around close around to what the field is, maybe slightly lower on CMC than the field. But I really think those two players are just irrelevant on the slate. Just play them and worry about the rest of the lineup. Um, that's uh, that's my opinion. Let me upload this, and I'll see your response really fast. Okay. Actually, one thing I want to do, I want to check and see. Now, I don't have limit duplications on because if it gives a good lineup, I want to play those in as many contests as possible. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 lineups of my whatever the fuck I'm playing in 3 contests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 28 of my lineups that I made at least in 2 contests. Now, I'm not going to care if they're in both 25s, a 25 and a 5, whatever. I'm just explaining my own duplications in being used in multiple contests really fast here. Okay, so let's see. What did you answer here between this? Props to you for the year last year. Yeah, thank you so much. That's just been a lot of hard work and um, finally having just the money to actually play DFS the way I wanted to. Um, it's it's hard, dude. I have not had a real job since before COVID, and even before that, I was making more playing DFS than when I had a job, right? Um, but I have. I mean, now obviously I've been with TrueDFS now for it'll be 3 years. Actually, it's 3 years this January. So obviously I get paid, do from our site as well. But I have played and grinded DFS for 6 years as my primary income. Um, and that's a tough thing, It I would still rather do this than work a real job, but some of those times it's paycheck to paycheck. It's like, man, I got to pay rent. I have to make, you know, to cover bills or whatever. Like I have to make that money this weekend, right? I got to make it work on this on NBA on NHL, whatever. Like I would still rather do that than work a real job. But just finally having the money to actually not worry about that has been tremendous for DFS for me. Okay, let's see. Away is he's guilty. He's been an F1 fan for a minute, but it can get boring sometimes. It may if DFS is just let's see. Same as MMA if it's DFS. Yeah. Okay, let me see. Did your global fan see? Congratulations on winning 3 or 4 MMA GPPs. One thing I'm scared to do. I've never been one to like chase live events and even tickets. Maybe that is something I'll explore more this year. I've just never really. The only time I've ever entered like seats or like contests to qualify stuff are the plate races. And even still, I've just never ended up having one to where it qualifies there. But I've always been worried about chasing qualifying seats and stuff. Pinnacle attacks and drivers, the car's gotten so big relative to the track that overtaking on some tracks has become so hard. Yeah, I mean, so it's I don't know. And I really hate to be like, oh, dirt track race is more fun. Like, I mean, I built race cars for 2.5 years as well. Like, I understand the engineering and ingenuity and that aspect and stuff, but like, I think some things are just like too advanced. Like, I think F1 has like gone so far down that rabbit hole. You know, like I don't watch a lot of older F1 races just because I like oval racing more, but I think the same thing can be said between current F1 now and F1 20 years ago, and so I mean F1 back in the 60s and 70s and stuff. Now that was cool, right? I just don't have it now, dude. All right, Rita DJ. I think as long as you're just happy doing whatever you want, that's a real. Yeah, we could be broke right now. We could be doing Fent no, on the side of the fucking street right now. Uh, so at least you are at least you're not in that situation. At least I'm not in that situation. I I played poker here at some of the Texas card clubs in I'm in the Houston area. I have no intention on doing that now with the new tax change specifically for that F1 DFS. I think I can just make enough to where if that change is there, I can just make up for the 90% deduction. I firmly believe because I've had winning DFS years the entirety of the time I've been here. I think I'm good enough to where I can just make enough money and just eat that tax change. I play DFS or I play poker for fun. I'm not just gonna play that and then pay extra money on stuff. So I will probably not be playing any uh I mean and like I said I'll see you know with the gambling chain. I don't know. Like I just don't want to be surprised sometime because I just play poker or whatever. Like you know I don't have a real opinion there on that. And I'm in Texas, so sports betting is not legal here in Texas. I don't do any of the prediction markets. Um, I'm very. If I was to do sports betting, I would really like. I've always wanted to live bet stuff specifically for esports. Um, so that's probably what I would do more stuff on, or just like straight bets. Like I have no interest in parlays, right? So I don't enjoy um, price picks. I don't play underdog. I don't have an account. Um, so sports betting to me, I have no interest in that. Uh, in the grand scheme of things of how people see that in terms of parlays, I would just rather throw like money on one outcome. Whatever. I think, yeah. So, like I said, uh, Polymarket isn't operate, and I don't know enough about it. Like, I'm just not in that space. I don't really care enough. But I'm pretty sure Polymarket doesn't operate here. I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't know. And I know that classification doesn't apply to them because they're prediction markets, and that's a whole fucking say like this is not the place to have that discussion. We all know how drastically different that is compared to normal gambling and stuff. I'm just happy to be here and play DFS. I mean, yesterday's you know a prime example of that. I'd rather just play DFS, put stuff on Stake Kings, back people on Stake Kings, and make money through that because that is I'm perfectly fine with that. And then on top of what I get from TrueDFS. Okay, so I'm from um, that's it. I'm from El Paso, um, so I go through San Angelo all the time. Just doing different things over there, so I know exactly where that is. Yeah. Let's see what else. I was in Lubbock for about 4 years as well, right before COVID and stuff. I think that's mainly it. I don't have anything else to really add or say. Thank you guys for joining me here. Thanks for watching that and continuing to talk here. 40 of you guys still here chit-chatting with me. I appreciate it. Happy New Year. And I do believe the next time you see me, I will have all this stuff moved into the new apartment, or not the apartment, into my room in the new house. Thank you guys for being here, and I will talk with you guys next time. Happy New Year. Good luck today. Bye bye.